Thorny, as we venture into the R&R, two truths are consistent. We love our dear Montana state, and we love great beer. And you know who else feels the same? Jeremiah Johnson Brewing. Brewed in the heart of Montana in downtown Great Falls, Jeremiah Johnson takes Montana's finest ingredients to craft some of Montana's favorite beers. And now, Jeremiah Johnson's second tap room is open in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Their Citra IPA is probably one of my favorites. But we all know, Thorny, you're not the hop lover I am. You're more of a Mountain Man Scotch Ale.
Well, Foley, I'm certainly not a mountain man, but you are right. I do love their Mountain Man Scotch Ale. But come game day, you and I are both cracking their Golden Bobcat Pale Ale. So when you're looking for a quality craft beer brewed with Montana roots, a relaxing tap room, or just a six-pack to take to your favorite Bobcat tailgate, Jeremiah Johnson delivers. Make your next beer a Jeremiah Johnson, and as always, go Cats.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R CatCast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R CatCast. I'm Ryan Foley. Across the state from me is my buddy, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R CatCast. We are the Montana State Bobcat podcast of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and we are happy to be brought to you by Jeremiah Johnson Brewing. Brewing great beer in downtown Great Falls, Montana. Pumping out those Bobcat Pale Ales. Getting ready for Gold Rush this weekend. Thorny, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. We're going to have to get one of those Golden Ales, the Bobcat Ale, when we're in town on Friday. I can't believe we're going to be witnessing Bobcat game in person. I'm so excited.
Oh, man, I am not looking forward to the drive.
yeah,
but
yeah, I could see that, but worth it. That's only, what, like 5 hours? Come on.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but anyways, right on. But we got a full episode for you guys. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for participating with our Golden Coolies and everything. We'll get right into that, but a little rundown before we get into anything. Today we're going to recap the Wyoming game that happened last week. First we'll start with what's in the news. We'll talk about the presser. We'll talk about the stats FCS, new rankings out there. Won't spend too much time on that. The big thing we want to get into is just recap the game. The way we're going to format our conversation is we're going to talk about things we liked, things we didn't like, and things we have questions on. After that, we're going to give a preview on Drake, just a quick hitter there on Drake. And then we have some buy or sell questions. Excuse me, not buy or sell questions. No buy or sell today. We do have some Golden Coolie questions, and we will recap our bold predictions. Thorny, did I miss anything?
I don't know. I tuned out. Not going to lie. Sounds good to me, though. I was thinking about what I'm going to start talking about, and I can't think about that and listen to you at the same time. So I'm going to trust you.
I see you have your nice little Montana State flag, hanging up in the background.
Yeah, I put it up there because I wasn't sure if the Big Sky Big Takes episode I did was going to be actually on video or not, because it was on StreamYard, and I hadn't done it since they started doing StreamYard. And I'm like, is this going to be on live? So I got my all props all ready, but never happened. But I'm left it up because why not?
You know, Ryan, every time we do an episode, I always talk about being part of the Big Sky Podcast Network. If you don't know what the Big Sky Podcast Network is, think about Ryan and I. We're just two fans talking about Montana State. There are other dudes out there like us, who have fan-based podcasts for their respective schools in the Big Sky. So the Big Sky Podcast Network takes all these on Twitter, pumps out the information for those respective schools. So if you're interested in, let's say Idaho or the Grizzlies or some other school out there, look at the Big Sky Podcast Network, the BSPN on Twitter, and you'll be able to find some of the information there.
Yeah, good shout out there. And yeah, they create a weekly show, which is kind of like a Pardon the Interruption or whatever game show. They always have 4 panelists on from all the various personalities and schools. It's a lot of fun. And I was on last week, but yeah, check them out.
All right.
That's enough plugging. We've been plugging everyone else right now. Let's get into some Bobcat stuff, huh?
Let's talk about us, right? Let's talk about what's in our Golden Coolies tonight, buddy. I've been saving this. I think you're going to like this, Thorny. I'm going to go first since I'm already talking about it. I have something from your neck of the woods over in Everett. Don't you like scuttlebutt?
Yeah, scuttlebutt makes a pretty good amber, as far as I know. I don't know what else they make, but
They have this crazy can, and this caught my attention like none other today. It's called Living Daylights. Do you see this? It's
Yeah,
like a psychedelic. Yeah, it has like waterfalls on it. It has like salmon,
there's a lot going on there.
rainbows coming out of clouds, pouring on the mountains. Anyways, it is a hazy IPA. I know I've been kind of dogging on the hazies, but I couldn't pass up this can. Like this, I'm totally buying the book because of its cover right now. I've been waiting to crack it. I have no clue what it tastes like. It is 6.1% alcohol, so here goes nothing.
Foley, you're the reason that companies pay big bucks to have their cans not decorated, but you know what I'm saying, like have them attractive because people will buy based on the can. You're a living example of that.
All right, well, it is. I can report it is pretty tasty. It's not too juicy. I don't like the big sweet IPAs, and so yeah, it's pretty good. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Scuttlebutt's a pretty good brewery, I'm pretty sure. Well, I got myself a local Montana beer. Still got my fridge stock full of them. I got the Bozone Select Amber Ale, probably one of my all-time favorite ambers. I'll hold it up for you. I'm sure you know exactly what it looks like, although you're not as much of an amber guy. But yeah, I got this one. I was got my fridge full there. This is the one that just jumped out to me tonight. Delicious. I'm enjoying it quite thoroughly.
Nice, man. I'm going to pick up some of that when I'm over in Bozeman next week. Speaking of which, if you want to meet up with Ryan and I, we're going to be around. We'll be around all day Saturday. I know I'm getting in really late Friday night. Thorny will be there. So if you want to meet us or hang out with us or have a beer with us or just tell us how bad we suck, get a hold of us and we'd love to buy you a beer.
If you want to come learn how we do what we do and then take our spots, be my guest.
Oh, man. All right.
Dude.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some news first. Thorny, let's talk about quickly just Stats FCS poll.
Where are we? 11th? 10th?
Yeah, we moved from 12th to 11th. So just I'll run down the Big Sky teams. Came in at the top in 5th. They were 9th last week. Ewash jumped up to 7th. They were 11th last week. Weber dropped down to 10th. They were sitting at 6th last week. Montana State's there right after them at 11th. We moved up, even though we lost, and so I thought that was pretty good. And UC Davis comes in at 14. They made the biggest jump. They were at 23rd, ranked 23rd last week. So those are your Big Sky teams in the Stats FCS poll. I think the top still remains the same with Sam Houston State at the top. Not quite sure who's number 2 after that. I'm not looking at it right now.
Interesting that Weber got hit so hard after getting whooped up pretty good by Utah. But Utah's a good team and perennially a good team. So I'm a little surprised to see them fall so far after that. But yeah, kudos to UC Davis for jumping up after a nice win over Tulsa.
Yeah.
And the same for the Cats increasing, going up a spot too after losing.
Yeah, I thought Weber would have made that game a little bit tighter, but same struggles with them, offensive stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's the new rankings that came out after week 1. The good thing is we're in the top 25, and that's when you fall out of the top 25, that's pretty tough. Even in the beginning, trying to get back into the top 25 in order to get playoff seedings in that. So that's good stuff.
Do you want to give your top 5 for the Big Sky Conference power rankings, which is different from a poll? First and foremost, power rankings are basically who you think is the best team at the moment, nothing to do with anything else. Who'd you put in your top 5?
Number 1, I had the Grizzlies. Number 2, Montana State. Number 3, Eastern. Number 4, UC Davis. And number 5, Washington, Weber State.
I had the exact same top 5. I flip-flopped the Cats in Eastern, though, because I just put a little bit more stock in a victory than a loss. UNLV, I think, is a dog crap program. Always has been, always will be. But Eastern got the win, so got to give the nod. But first week power rankings, like, what does that really mean? Everyone's playing up or down usually. Not too many FCS versus FCS matchups usually this time of year. It's a crapshoot. But there it is, our top 5 for the Big Sky Network power rankings.
All right. Any other news? We do have some news on injuries, and then we'll talk a little bit about Brent Vigen's press conference. Ryan, did you hear about the injuries?
I actually did not. I was hoping you had something there.
Yeah, it sounds like Tyrell Thomas is probably going to be ready to go for the Drake game this week.
Great.
Kyle Rigg suffered a lower body injury. That's what I almost called him Jeff Choate. Brent Vigen disclosed.
Hey, how many times is this going to happen?
Right. They're being very tight-lipped over at Montana State. Rightfully so. They didn't even disclose it. It looked like a need to me when I was watching the game. Colsane, his day-to-day looks like, not looks like it. It showed it right on the TV. He rolled his ankle, got caught up there on Lewis Kidd's back foot and rolled his ankle at the very end of the game. So he's day-to-day. And then there was another guy. We're doing so good this episode with being prepared on, on our stuff. So
that's all that I can think of. Or are you talking about guys that were already on the injury report before the game? Because there's Nate Stewart.
Yeah, Nate Stewart's still a man of mystery. So
update on him.
Okay.
Yeah, Kyle Rigg and Colsane are the ones who got hurt during the game. And it sounds like Sane's day-to-day. And Kyle Rigg, don't know his... It did look a little more serious. MCL, hopefully not an ACL. I don't really know. Apparently that's just what everyone's calling these things nowadays, is lower body injury. All-encompassing. He hurt himself down there. Real bad. How'd you like the Wyoming fans booing when Colsane got hurt?
Well, I could see that. They're probably uneducated. That, one, it's just like they probably thought it was fake, right? They were just like, Montana State needs a timeout. We were out of timeouts at the moment. And they're like, he's just going to, he's just going to flop and give them some time. What they didn't realize, it causes a 10-second runoff because it was underneath a minute or something like that. So it was very detrimental to us, actually.
No, you don't. Yeah. And on the replay, which obviously they wouldn't have seen in real time, very clear. He stepped on someone's foot and rolled his ankle real bad. So not faking it. We lost 10 seconds because of it. But a little odd for them to be booing on that. Don't love it.
All right.
Had to comment, though.
Yeah. I watched Brent Vigen today, or listened to Brent Vigen through Skyline's audio that they dropped. The press conference, I'm starting to like Brent Vigen more and more when I listen to him. He's a guy that gives you a lot of information when you listen to him. He's not going to be the guy that's very fiery when you listen to him. He doesn't come across as that charismatic, like, orator like Jeff Choate was, but he's giving you a lot of the same stuff when you listen to him. So a couple of things that stuck out to me was he was talking about how we need to play more players. He was talking about Thorny. I just kind of want to talk about this specific point. He said, we rotated a lot on the defensive line. He said going forward, we need to play. We need to rotate more in the linebacker, the secondary, and the receiver. We have to play more guys. And that particularly got me excited because we got some ball players, and that means a lot of guys are going to get touches. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, overall, I agree with your assessment. Vigen doesn't really beat around the bush. He'll kind of tell you his honest opinion on something. I think he's always going to be respectful and never. He's the guy who's not going to dog on anybody, but he's going to tell you if a guy needs to work on something or improve on something. And I really liked his press conference. He wanted to win. He expected to win, and it wasn't one of those. Well, we came in there, gave it our best all. Or he said the right things that you want to hear from it. So I really liked it. Not a lot I gleaned from it in terms of like content or anything like you're talking about, but overall, it was an entertaining press conference. I didn't quite listen to the whole thing, but I liked it.
All right. All right, Thornton, let's move right into the stats of the Wyoming game. Let's recap the Wyoming game, and you're going to bring us down. You're our statistician over here. Let's go.
All right, well, the stats are pretty darn even in this one. 17 first downs for both teams. Neither team very good in third down. The Cats were just 4 for 12. The Cowboys were 6 for 17. But I think most of those came later in the game. They were 0 for like 6 or for their first 6 or 7. They got it going there later. Total yards, 321 for the Cats, 347 for the Pokes, 200 passing yards for Matt McKay, 196 for Sean Chambers, 19 of 29, 15 of 26. So pretty good completion percentages for both teams. 6.9 yards per pass for the Cats, 7.5 for the Pokes, and of course the one interception there thrown by Chambers to newcomer Jeffrey Manning, one of the more exciting plays of the game. Jeff Manning, is he not Jeffrey?
No, he's Jeff.
Okay. 121 rushing yards for the Cats, 151 for the vaunted rushing offense of Wyoming. On 30 attempts for the Cats, 43 times for the Wyoming. Now looking at that, I didn't realize they ran the ball that much. They only averaged 3.5 yards per carry, Wyoming did. Each team penalized 4 times, the Cats for 32 yards, the Wyoming for 50 yards, because basically all of them were 15-yard penalties. Turnover each, like I said, interception for the Cats, but a fumble by Willie Patterson, the turnover for the Cats. Time of possession, the last thing here, is where things kind of got a little more lopsided. 33, almost 34 minutes for Wyoming and just 26 minutes for the Cats. So Wyoming had a really good advantage in the time of possession battle, and ultimately there in the second half, I think that's kind of what sealed the fate. So there's the stats. Anything jump out to you there?
You know, I was surprised Montana State only had 4 penalties going into this game, had not played in 623 days. I thought those boys were going to be just juiced and they would be hopping off sides all the time, or we would have some sort of procedure penalties or personal fouls because they were just going to be, just completely amped. They held it in check for the most part. I was really impressed.
Yeah, both teams actually looked really disciplined, at least in that regard. There was some sloppy execution, but as far as mechanics or being in the right spot, I mean, there was both teams were really well disciplined and not a lot of penalties, just eight combined penalties.
No, anything jump out to you before we move into the breakdown?
One of those penalties for the Bobcats is complete bogus, but we'll talk about that later, I guess. But should be 3 penalties.
Yeah.
But actually, it should be 2 penalties as far as I'm concerned. We'll get into that. But nothing else there. Matt McKay stats for his first start are pretty good. 19 to 28, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. We can talk more about him later. I'm just kind of giving the stats. And then Isaiah Fonze, 16 carries for 103 yards with a long of 29. So pretty good day for some of the stars. And last thing on the stats, Lance McCutcheon, man, 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. He had a great game. So those are just some of the stats from the key contributors for the Bobcats in the loss.
Got to give a shout out to Trayton Pickering, a guy we called Peyton Thornton 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. How did I remember that he's from Sunburst, but I can't remember his name? Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think
That's
he's going to be
talking about. Yes,
a bright star for us in this season. All right, so to shape our conversation, like I said in the beginning, we're going to talk about things we like, and then we're going to talk about things we didn't like, and then we're going to talk about the questions now we have. Ryan, where do you want to start?
Well, why don't you give us something we like while I shuffle my notes and look for what I wrote down? I actually have paper for once.
Okay. I got a couple things I pinned down in my little box right here, so I'm going to pick one. I'm going to talk about Ty Okada. Ty Okada, man, that guy was all over the field on Saturday. The first play I noticed Ty was coming in. He just blew up a reverse, just rocketed out of nowhere. Just seemingly popped in the backfield, blew up the play. And then I'm just like, man, Ty's everywhere, because everywhere I was looking at the play, number 7 was. So I was pretty stoked to see Ty. And he's looking fast and he's looking mean. And man, can he tackle? So just kind of a little bit on that too is tackling overall. I thought Montana State did really well just getting guys to the ground. Jeff Manning, sure tackler, all the players really. So those are, I guess that's two things, as I said. So
I didn't really see any broken or missed tackles by the Bobcats maybe until about the fourth quarter. Like there was guys just wrapping up. The first guy there was usually the guy to get him or to hold on until someone else could come and get him. Like, there's very few missed tackles. I thought that was actually very impressive. Tackling, something that you can't really practice too easily in non-game situations, and it's been so long since anybody actually tackled somebody. So, yeah, good point on the tackling, and I'm glad you brought it up because I definitely wanted to mention that as well.
Right on, Thorne, give me something you like.
I liked how our defensive line played. Even though Kyle Rigg went down, which was kind of a bummer, man, Chase Benson, Daniel Hardy in particular, those two guys just looked phenomenal. Amandre Williams looked like his solid self, but man, I think that was kind of a coming out party for Daniel Hardy. He was the most disruptive. He was probably the most tackles for loss. I don't have the defensive stats up in front of me, but he played really well. And I just thought, even rotating down the line, we had like Byron Rollins in there at some point. I thought Blake Heel played really well coming off the bench after Kyle Ray got injured. I just thought the defensive line looked really good, and I was very excited to see that they could hold their own against arguably probably the best offensive line the Cats might see, at least in the regular season all year.
Yeah, they were a big offensive line. Number
Huge.
10, I kept thinking it was like Kenneth Iden. I'm like, man, Kenneth Iden's getting a lot of playing time. It was Brody Grebe.
So are you positive on that? Like, do they switch numbers?
I'm pretty sure. And the way I've kind of figured it out, I looked at they scrolled into it. Obviously, the Cats don't have the names on the back of their jerseys, but I was like, this guy has blonde hair like flowing out of his helmet. So I looked. I had the roster up, and I was like, Kenneth Iden definitely does not have blonde hair. You know who does? Number 11, Brody Grebe, and that kind of sparked something in my head. I heard Brody was getting some time on defensive end. Sure enough, he was getting in on a lot of plays, so a lot of rotation on the defensive line for sure.
Yeah, he looked good. He didn't play much beyond like the first half, though, did he? Like he when he got in the first half, he was disruptive, made some nice plays, and didn't look like he really played much after that.
I think I saw him all game.
Yeah, but that was really nice to see because I was actually looking like, who's number 10 there? And same thing. I know you and I both had a chance to rewatch the game, which is a rarity and probably not going to happen moving forward because it was just Labor Day and a day off for both of us. But it was really hard to see on the online feed. It was just blurry and the camera was zoomed way out, so I couldn't even see the numbers half the time. But yeah, Brody Grebe, if that's what we're going to get out of him as he's just a freshman, right? Or his first year anyway. I can't remember. He went to like a prep academy or something, but yeah, that was very, very exciting.
I think it was. I think he did go to something called like Chode Academy.
Yeah, actually, I think you might be right, like in Connecticut or somewhere way back east.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Good to see all those guys. And good to see all those guys rotating on the defensive line. That's one thing I noticed that was a little bit different about this regime than previous is we seem to rotate some more guys. And again, I want to go back to Brent Vegan said in the presser today. That's going to be emphasis going forward across the whole team. So we're going to see a lot of players, a lot of deserved players too. But
I thought that was something Choate did big time, was rotate all the time.
Yeah, well, I might be wrong. There's a good chance of that too. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the offense real quick. One thing that impressed me on the offense is when we ran the RPO play where Matt McKay would pull the ball and then fire a bullet down the seam. We hit a couple plays, big first downs to Willie P. I'm just forgetting. Chayton Pickering caught one. Charles Brown.
Charles Brown, the first catch. Who had Charles Brown with the first catch of the 2021 Bobcat season?
So, that play was, we went to the well on that a couple times and it paid off quite readily. So I was pretty stoked to see that play happen. I don't remember a ton of RPO from Jeff Choate. So, I think that's going to be good for us to go in the future.
I think we did have some RPO. I just don't think anyone ever actually friggin' threw the thing. They were just keepers or handoffs. No throws involved.
Oh, we had a couple first downs too with our tight ends. So that's, cheers. I'm literally raising my beer to you right now. Thank you for throwing to the tight ends.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of catches by the tight ends. We had Derek Snell had 2 receptions. R.J. Fitzgerald caught a ball, and Pickering caught 3 balls. So that's six catches by the tight ends.
Another drink right there.
Fullback, 5.5. Yeah, I'm taking another drink to that. Cheers! I just cracked a new beer to that.
Is that a drinking game? Can we take a drink every time a tight end catches a ball? We would have been pretty dry going through the Jeff Choate era. Come on now.
Well, we're still talking about the offense, so we're still talking about things that we liked. So I really liked Lance McCutcheon. I think this is a coming out party for Lance McCutcheon. I think he's going to be a problem for Big Sky defenses. He looked strong. He looked fast. On all the catches he made, basically, he had to come back for fairly underthrown balls, and that's something we're going to get to with Matt McKay. But he made some plays, and he fought through some defenders and made some great catches. I think he's going to be a breakout player. He led the team with 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. I was really impressed with Lance McCutcheon. I'm happy to see that he's potentially blossoming into that senior leader, that playmaker that we've been pining for years.
Yeah, it's his time. Way to step up. You know, that last catch he had that went down on the 1 yard line, the guy was just pulling his jersey. The judge there did not call offensive pass or defensive pass interference. Luckily, we caught it. Yep.
It's okay because we caught it. Yeah. I mean, that's a top 10 Sports Center type catch right there. It was a fantastic catch.
It's going to feel so good for him, too, to come out. Jeff Manning hit that interception on the third play of that series, and then the first strike to Lance McCutcheon right there. It's all over the social medias today. Good for him, man. That guy's been paying his due. I'm so stoked for that guy.
So another thing that I liked, I don't know whose turn it is. I'm just going to keep talking. Brent Vegan's demeanor on the sideline. Your first time seeing the camera panned on him, doing some coaching it up, and he was being energetic. He wasn't super rah-rah, but he was congratulating guys. He was talking to guys, and after that first misread by Matt McKay, he had his arm around his shoulder and was telling them all about it. I really liked what I saw briefly on, the camera's not on him a ton, but from what I saw, I liked Brent Vegan's coaching demeanor on the sidelines. How about you?
Yeah, I'm super glad you mentioned that, because I had thought the same thing. That's a huge thing to me, watching the player-coach interaction. He was back there just slapping the guys on the shoulder pads. He was giving high fives. He was coaching Matt McKay up. He looked happy. He looked energetic. We haven't seen him at all on the sideline, and so this is kind of our first viewing of what Coach Vegan is. And so, yeah, pretty stoked to see that. I was really happy.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say on the good side? I mean, honestly, the running game looked strong with... Oh, I just dropped a Hot Wheel of all things. I'm a dad. The running game looked strong with Isaiah Fonse. We didn't see a lot of other running backs, but I thought Isaiah Fonse looked fantastic. He was the only one on either team consistently breaking any tackles. He was a man out there. He mowed over a couple guys, but specifically on that one of his longer runs, he mowed over number 5, who tried to come at him low and just got he regretted that immediately and just bounced right off of him. So Isaiah Fonse looking all of that All-American type caliber guy that we hope he can be. The potential Mount Rushmore running back, as a Golden Coolie question asked us last week. He looked fantastic. I'm excited to see more of Isaiah Fonse moving forward.
Yeah, it's good to see him trucking guys back to his usual self out there. A couple things, I'm just going to mention them briefly. I love the Jeff Manning INT. In fact, I love our secondary. I thought overall they played really well. They tackled really well. I was interested to see James Campbell out there. He had a solid game. He was everywhere. Trey Webb looks
the Wyoming announcers even called out James Campbell as a guy that they was we've called his name a bunch of times. He played pretty well.
Another thing I want to mention too is Bryce Layton and Blake Glessner. Man, showing up, right?
Yeah.
Nailing a 53-yarder field goal.
Take the lead in the fourth quarter. That's a big-time field goal. That's a big boy field goal.
Yeah, good job, Blake. And then Bryce just flipping the field for us. Because we had some pretty crappy field position for most of the game. And then if we would hit if we got into a punt situation, he was just bombing them. So I was pretty impressed with our young specialists.
Absolutely. Right. And the long snapper was great too. The snappings just all around were great. Justice Perkins, the long snapping wasn't as great. I guess, there was that. That was the field goal. Yeah, the one that Blake Gessner didn't even get a real shot at because it was a high snap. You're right there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's his first start. He's a freshman, I believe, is the snapper. But I thought Justice Perkins did a great job snapping the ball. I had zero problems with the snaps. Like, they all looked good out of shotgun. No problems.
Yeah. Man.
Nailed it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the things that we didn't like.
I got to mention Callahan O'Reilly first, though. I think he was the best linebacker. I have to say it. I wanted to say it, and you didn't ask me if we're done talking yet, so I'm going to interject. Callahan O'Reilly, definitely at this stage in his career, is a better linebacker than Troy Anderson. I think Troy will get there, and we'll talk about Troy. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll go up without talking about Troy. But Callahan O'Reilly he looked fantastic. He was all over the field. Kudos to Callahan O'Reilly. I think he's going to have a monster season.
Yeah, man. He had an open field tackle that just blew my mind. He saved a big play.
Yeah, Chambers. I think it was he caught him by just the foot.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anyways, okay. We're throwing.
There was a lot to like. I'm sorry, there's a lot to talk about. It was exciting. The number one thing is we got to watch Bobcat football. Let's drink to that. Let's cheers. I just knocked my mic. Let's cheers on our little video conference. No one can see us do this, but cheers.
All right. Well, Thorny, maybe like next week we change up the format and make this run a little smoother so we can have a little more flow to the things we like. But here we are.
We're rusty.
Yep.
We're rusty and we're trying a new format.
All right. I'll start. Things we didn't like. Not finishing. We got them in the fourth quarter. We led that game for the entire time, but we did not finish, and that just irks me. Irks me, man.
Especially when you look like you're the better team.
Yeah. To me, the last couple drives when they were going down the field, when basically Chambers was making his hay, Montana State seemed to be playing it a little bit safe. And the announcers were always like, they're in this soft cover too. And I was like, come on, maybe we should, put some pressure on him, force him to use a timeout. If we could get Chambers down and sack him, Wyoming would, be forced to use one of their timeout. Chambers, like you said earlier to me, Chambers was standing back there flat-footed for a couple of those, just standing tall. Mm-hmm. And, this was a fourth quarter. This could be this elevation thing you talked about last week. I'm not going to give it too much credence, but, honestly, it could have been. We might have been gassed at that point, but we did not finish, Ryan.
No, that last drive wasn't particularly frustrating of their game-winning touchdown drive. But, I understand the concept of keeping him in the pocket, but, we weren't getting anywhere near him, and he hadn't been playing particularly well all game. I understand you don't want to get beat by his feet, his running ability, but, man, he, like you said, he was so comfortable back there, he could have just, made himself a sandwich back there. He was just, he was just standing there flat-footed, and I don't know if we were gassed or what it was, but I just didn't love it. It was a little too, I won't say it was like a prevent, but it just wasn't as aggressive as it could have been. One thing I didn't like trying to do sweeps with Isaiah Fonse in particular. I'm just going to go random here. I'm not starting out any of my highest dislikes. That's just what I happen to look at. We ran a couple sweeps with Isaiah Fonse, and I think this is where I talked about, I think we're going to miss Logan Jones a lot because he was the expert on that. Isaiah Fonse, I just don't think he's fast enough to get to the edge on those kinds of plays. So I don't love seeing Isaiah Fonse used in that capacity. He's a between the tackles kind of guy. I didn't love that.
Yeah, if we're going to do that with a running back, let's go with Demarius Hosey or Elijah Elliott, right? Or Charles Brown. Yeah. Charles Brown took the first sweep on the second play of the game. We didn't see any of that thereafter.
Somebody took a sweep and this got absolutely clobbered. Was that Cam Gardner? No, that was Cam Gardner. Yeah, Cam Gardner. It was a nice run until it wasn't Mumu or Muma. Mumu.
That's so disrespectful. That guy was such a stud.
He was a stud. So there's a lot of times that you hear about a player from opposing fan bases and stuff, and you're like, okay, we'll wait and see. He lived up to the billing. He was an absolute stud. That guy's a prospect for sure. But it wasn't him. It was the safety number 5 who just clocked Cam Gardner, just took him off his feet. What were we even talking about? We're talking about sweeps.
We were talking about sweeps, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just long story short, Let's get someone else besides Isaiah and Fonzie involved. If it's going to be a running back, we got some faster options than Fonzie.
Another thing I did not like, where was Jaden Smith?
He had the one opportunity. I was expecting him to come down with that kind of ball. It wasn't a great thrown ball, and it was good coverage. But man, he's 6'5", 6'6", and he had his hands on the ball at one point. So I wanted to see him come down with those kinds of balls, and we didn't give him a lot of looks otherwise. But yeah, not quite the fast start I was hoping for Jaden Smith. But he's young. But yeah, where was he? It's a good question. I don't think he got a lot of balls thrown his way.
Let's talk about Willie P. Things we don't like. We love you, Willie P.
Well, can we at least
love you, Willie P.
Can I at least retroactively say that I loved his punt return? That wasn't his fault.
That's what
I don't like the call
into.
on that. All right, we'll talk about Willie P in a second, but that call, you and I both watched the replay several times now.
10 times.
That was the worst block in the back call in the history of the planet. Just because a player has his hand on your back doesn't mean it's a block. He didn't. His arm was fully extended. The guy just tripped trying to cut with Willie Patterson, and it fell down. And our player, I don't even know who it was, just happened to have his hand on his back at the time. Bad call. Great return by Willie Patterson. That's all I got to say on that.
We are eternally rooting for Willie Patterson, and I have been kind of critical on this podcast against him. I was pretty upset when he fumbled that first down catch on an RPO. We had all the momentum. He came down with the catch. He got clocked. Fumbled it. Like, here we go again. But he made up for that. He came out and made a second catch later on. And like you said, that punt return, man, that was like his shining moment. And it was such. I just feel bad for the guy at this point because he's like, come on, just let me have a breakthrough. That could have been Willie P's breakthrough.
It could have been. Yeah, that could have been the thing that just skyrocketed him. He looked pretty good in the receiving game. Like, yeah, aside from the one fumble, he had some nice catches, and he showed some of the speed flashes that you obviously is impressing the coaches. Like, multiple coaching staffs are impressed with Willie Patterson, so he's still, he's got a starting spot, and you can see why. But yeah, he just can't seem to help to make some mistakes in games. But man, what a return, man! That was exciting, and I was very, very distraught. Like that's the game right there. If that return stands, they don't call that flag. The momentum's on our side, and I think we win the game.
Oh my gosh, I saw a stat that it was like the first return since your boy Sean John.
Oh my, yeah. 2015 or 14 would be the whenever he graduated. Man,
that is very surprising to me. Honestly, that is a very surprising stat. You think Kevin Cassis would have took one to the house during his tenure? Nope.
No. I didn't love some of the decisions by Matt McKay on the RPOs. I thought he should have kept it sometimes. He handed off when a guy got stuffed. I didn't love his decision-making necessarily, but that's going to come with practice. That's just live game reps there. We're getting down to kind of nitpicking stuff there. And I didn't love Matt McKay's deep ball. None of them were very accurate. And I don't know if he didn't have the arm strength. I think he does. I just think he underthrew them.
My critique of Matt McKay came from not finding the underneath guy. A lot of time he was looking for Lance McCutcheon on like a deep out. It would have been like a 3 and 4 or 3rd and 4. We just need a couple yards. And he's going hash mark to far sideline. I'm like, man, that's a tough throw. And then you'll see like Elijah Elliott just like, squeak out and just open it in flat. Like, we need to give that guy the ball in space. And he was wide open a couple times. So that was my biggest critique on Matt McKay.
Yeah, no, I had that written down too, as I just kind of missed some seemingly open wide receivers. But again, man, like this is game one. That's just going to be better with reps. That the game's going to slow down for him. I know he started previously, but just learning the new system, new offensive coordinator, just seeing the field better, it's all going to come to him. Knowing his reads, it'll all come.
All right, but I'm going to only mention one more thing that I did not like. I think the Bobcats need to celebrate more when they're doing good. Meaning, like, when there's a big catch, I want to see more guys running to that player, just lifting them up, just going after it. I want to see more trash talking from the Bobcats when they're in the face on defense or anytime, honestly. I just want to see them be nasty. I want to see them celebrate, and I want to see them fly to the ball. There's too many times when the ball was out that we weren't flying to the ball. We need to gang tackle. We need to fly to the ball, wreak havoc, be just annoying, trash talking, sons of guns out there. I need to see that from my Bobcats. That's what I want to see.
All right. Well, interestingly enough, I rewatched the game today with that in mind because you had told me before I watched that you don't think they celebrated enough. I saw plenty of celebrating out there. I didn't really get that notion. I could see the gang tackling thing. I can see the flying to the ball thing, but there's plenty of celebrating out there. Guys were jumping up and high-fiving each other, and coaches coming out. Like Freddie Banks was out there high-fiving people. Like, what do you want, man?
Yeah, but I mean, if we're not gang tackling and not flying to the ball, that's going to come back and bite us because the ball's going to squeak out. We're not going to have guys there. We just need to we need to put on tape that every team knows that when you get past 2, you're going to get tackled by not 1, not 2. You're going to get tackled by 5 guys. That needs to be the standard at Montana State.
Yeah, and Freddie Banks preaches it. So yeah, I guess some better gang tackling flying the ball would be appreciated, I guess.
Yeah, Freddie follows us. Come on, Freddie. If you're listening, we love you, man. Let's make that happen.
Do we want to talk about Troy Anderson at any point here?
Yeah, man. Let's get into a little bit of Troy Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Let's go right into the question. Let's just call this the Troy Anderson segment. You want to do like a weekly Troy Anderson segment?
Troy Watch.
Troy Watch 2021. Hey, man, I'm concerned. Let me tell you why I'm concerned. I just think Troy, Troy in his sophomore year just dazzled us. I mean, dazzled the country. Man, he just does not look up to speed. He looked a little lost, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt on that, but, he's out there limping on his leg again. You're like, oh, man, come on, Troy. Troy is a fantastic player. Is he coming back too fast? That's what I'm wondering. When Nolan Askelson is spelling him, Nolan's looking really good. Nolan's flying to the ball. He's making a lot of plays. Right now, Nolan's doing a better job at playing that position than Troy. I hate to say it. I mean, Troy he led the team with 11 tackles. Why am I even saying that? But he just looks, it's like, he just looks like he's hurt. And I just feel for the guy. I really do.
I mean, I don't know. He was limping for a little bit there, but is he hurt? I don't know. Or is it just like, are you reading into just his hesitation at just not really knowing how to be a middle linebacker and calling the plays, and maybe it's not playing as fast because he's not as comfortable doing it yet? I don't think he looked really hurt to me at any point.
Yeah.
He made some really nice plays. Like you said, he had 11 tackles, a pass breakup. He led the team with 7 solo tackles. He was all over the field, and that was with a few series off too, because he was limping around and they kept him out for a little while. So he would have had even better stats if he was out there the whole time. So I'm concerned, I guess, about his long-term health, but I'm not so concerned about his abilities as a linebacker yet because it was his first game in a new system. I think he's only going to get better and better. And honestly, like, Wyoming has a pretty good, solid offensive line and a good group of blockers too. So there were so many playmakers out there that was just shared around. I don't read too much into it yet. Certainly something to keep an eye on, though. Yeah,
I'm actually going to call out to our listeners. The question I'm going to ask the listeners is, will Troy ever be Troy? I want you to get at us, Twitter, Bobcat Nation, you know who we are. Is Troy ever going to be Troy?
Is Troy mortal this year?
All right, Thorny. In order to keep this thing going, man, I think we gotta kind of put a cap on Wyoming. Anything else?
I think we summed it up pretty well. We had a chance to win the game. We should have won the game. We had some things not go our way, but we still at the end we didn't do enough to win, and that's always on the team. I know the players. I know Vigan probably feels that way. You can complain. You can say, like, we were in it. There's no moral victories. We had a chance to win it. We should have won it. But overall, my impression is that I'm just, I'm very optimistic after that game. I feel good after that game. And I'm really excited to see the 2021 version of the Bobcats progress through the season.
I'm glad you mentioned that saying no moral victories because I hate that saying. I think there is a lot of moral victories in this game. I think there's a lot to take away. Brent Vegan said in the same thing. There's things to correct, but there's a lot to celebrate in this game, and I totally agree with that. So, that no moral victory saying is a really static saying, and I just don't buy it.
Well, I mean, you can say it's not a moral victory and still have things that you liked or still things to be optimistic about, but you can't oh man, I don't know. There's a fine line between moral victory and just being optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm excited anyway.
Get off my lawn. All right. So let's talk about Drake there for a moment. We're going to play Gold Rush. Man, I cannot wait for Gold Rush.
Gold Rush. I got to buy my shirt still.
Jeez Louise. We'll get it. Thorny, you and I, Saturday, we're going to Universal Athletic. We'll pick them up.
That's right.
Man, we just watched a Bobcat game for the first time in 623 days. I was just so stinking stoked for that. And now we get to watch one in person, live, full stadium. I cannot wait. Drake is coming from the Pioneer League. Everybody knows Drake because Rob Ash used to coach at Drake. I'm not going to tell you a whole bunch about Rob Ash, but I am going to tell you a little bit about their record. In 2019, they were 6-2 in conference and 6-5 overall. And then they played 5 games last year in the 2020 season, and they were 2-3. So they just came off a win against some West Virginia Wesleyan University or something.
What division is that? Is that even D2 or is that D3?
It is D2. I did a little Google research on those guys today. They are D2. They are the Bobcats. They're orange and black. I looked at the roster even. Oh, my gosh. I took a little dive into them. And then I started looking at their schedule. They play no one I've ever heard of. So
Drake. If Drake's your headliner game.
Yeah. So, I mean, take what you can from that game. Drake's coming off 1-0. They got a win. They're coming into a hungry Montana State team. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Thorny, what do you got?
Well, let's talk a little bit about some players to watch, I guess. I'm looking at their preseason all-conference Pioneer League. They got 3 players on there. They got 2 linebackers, Jake Hoper and Ryan Criseri, and they also got a defensive back, Danny Morales. So I think defense is maybe their calling card. I mean, holding any team at all to 3 points, Division II, 3, NAIA is pretty impressive in the long run. So I think the defense is going to be stout. It could be a game where the Bobcats maybe are in for more of a fight than they expect, at least offensively on the defensive side for Drake, that is. So it could be a game where it's pretty low scoring heading into halftime. But what are your impressions of Drake? Anything stick out to you with these guys?
I wish you didn't ask me that. I have no clue about Drake right now.
Yeah.
That's such a bad question.
It's like the least amount of research I've done on an opponent. It was a 3-day weekend. Like I had some time today, but I didn't have some time today all at the same time. I don't know anything about Drake. I don't feel like it should be much of a challenge in the grand scheme of things, but man, they're an FCS team. They're going to have some players. They're going to have some playmakers. I just don't think that it's going to be a cakewalk for the whole game like some other people might think. I'll just leave it at that.
We've had some interesting games in Gold Rush, right? We've had some losses. We've had some really close ones, and we've had some blowouts. So any prediction right there? Loss?
Like
a close
a
loss? No, not a score. A close loss, a close win, or a blowout?
I mean, a close win and a blowout. There's no in between. Is that what you're telling me? But it's going to be a comfortable win. It's going to be 3 scores at least.
That wasn't on the menu.
Well, yeah, you can't say like 10-7 or 42-0. Like there's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I'm predicting a fun time in Bobcat Stadium. I'm predicting, man, Thorny, in less than a week, we're just going to be seeing a sea of gold underneath the lights.
Oh, man, I am stoked.
Yeah. All right. Hey,
before we get off of Drake, I want to spend a minute on Drake. We're going real fast. I know you're pissed off of me right now. Just what do you want to see? What do you want to see from the offense?
That's a good question. I'm glad you did ask that. Well, Montana, something that stuck out to me in the Wyoming game is, Cody Tucker, when we had him on from 7220 Sports, was like, oh, man, Brent Vegan, you're just going to run the ball all the time. And you know what? We didn't. We actually passed more than we ran last time. And I was actually liked our play calling. We didn't talk anything about Freddie Banks or Taylor Housewright's play calling. And kudos to them. I thought the game plan was pretty solid.
Wyoming obviously would have been expecting running, and we came out passing.
Yeah. Although Brent Vegan did say afterwards, he was like, we got to get the ball more to Afonso. I expect a little bit more running this game. But we had a really balanced offense. I want to see, what I want to see? I want to see more receivers. We have such a deep group of receivers. I want to see Jaden Smith catch a touchdown. I want to see get the ball to Charles Brown in space. I want to see Cam Gardner take it. That guy looked fast. I mean, he got chucked by that dude, but he was going fast. I want to see our receivers just explode. And then I want to see Matt McKay. I want to see Matt McKay get outside the box too. I want to see a bootleg. I want to see a fake handoff bootleg and get him on the edge. So that's what I want to see.
I want to see the offensive line be just as good as they were against Wyoming. Some of those times where you go against like maybe a smaller line, they might be more mobile. Sometimes they cause different problems. Different defensive lines are built differently. 4-man fronts, 3-man fronts. I just want to see the offensive line just be at least as good as they were at Wyoming. I'd like to see some more running backs get involved. Isaiah Afonso, 16 carries. Well, he could have had more and probably should have had more. And I think Brent Vegan, like you just said, agreed he should have had more. But I want to see more guys. Like maybe that's just what it's going to be. Maybe it's not a running back by committee anymore, which is kind of what we've had under Jeff Choate. Maybe that's just what we're going to see now is Isaiah Afonso taking the majority of the reps and he gets some breathers like like an NFL type offense, or at least the old NFL type offense. And yeah, I agree with the wide receivers. I want to see some more wide receivers get involved and some guys make some catches in some plays. And I just want to see Matt McKay continue to progress.
I hope we use Elijah Elliott and Demarius Hosey and Lane Sumner.
Just for my own entertainment.
Yeah. They're all fantastic players.
How about defensively?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I want to see some sacks again. I think back to our defense, the things I love. Remember Derek Barks coming off and just making huge plays. I want to see that. Something like that. When Daniel Hardy got to Craig Chambers Sean Chambers, excuse me. I called him Craig. I want to see Hardy get in there. I want to see Ramondre Williams sack the quarterback. I just want to see a couple sacks in the back. I'm predicting, this is my bold prediction. I'm going to just put it out there right now. We're going to have 2 interceptions. So I want to see that.
Yeah, I have no idea what Drake does offensively, if they run the ball, pass the ball, or what. But, I just want to see the defensive line dominate. Like they held their own, more than held their own against Wyoming. I want to see them overwhelm Drake, and they just don't have a lot of time to throw the ball or any riddle running lanes or anything like that. So I want to see Troy Anderson progress. I want to see if he's healthy. I want to see just, how he does in game number 2 as middle linebacker, calling all the plays. Because there were some times when I was rewatching that game, the defense was not set a lot of times. They were moving around trying to figure out where to go. Probably a lot more than you think. And I don't know if that's Freddie Banks or maybe that falls on Troy Anderson because he's kind of in charge of getting guys in the right spot. So I think there's a lot of learning to be had on defense. I just want to see a better sound performance out of the defense.
All right. I think we can put a bow on that.
Sounds good.
All right, let's go into our Golden Coolie questions.
When do you want to do bold predictions real quick?
Well, I already told you my bold prediction. We're going to have 2 interceptions. And hold on, I'm going to put a little feather in my cap because my bold prediction from last week was true. Pass for 2 touchdowns.
That's why I was asking, because we got to recap our bold predictions too. And yeah, you said 2 passing touchdowns. Nah, you didn't say anything about a beer. If anyone owes anyone a beer, I didn't read a single person calling for Brent Bregan to be fired or any single coach to be fired. So, which you guaranteed was going to happen. Yeah, so I predicted Matt McKee would throw for 250 and didn't quite get there. 200 yards, which is pretty solid outing, especially for a Bobcat quarterback from what we've seen. My bold prediction, I guess, would be it's going to be hard because I didn't really think enough about this. That we score a defensive touchdown.
Ooh, man, I've been waiting for a scoop and score. Come on, I want that one to get you. My other bold prediction I was thinking about putting out there was 3 different running backs will have touchdown.
Yeah, I thought something similar too. I think a lot of different guys will get a lot of different looks. So that would be a good solid choice for a bold prediction too.
All right. Hey, let's move into some Golden Coolie questions. I'm going to start us off. Our friend Joe Bobcat gave us a real thinker. He's making our heads hurt tonight. He says in 2019, regular season, harken back to 2019. Listen closely, Authority. This is going to make us... Come on. Jeez, I know. 2019 regular season, we rushed for more yards than we passed in 9 games, while we passed for more yards than we rushed in 3 games. In this year, 11-game regular season, what will those numbers end up being?
I would say it seems from game 1 that we're going to be passing for more yards than we run for possibly. I'm going to say 6 games passing more than we rush for. 5 games inverse.
I say the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Joe, it's hard to know how much of that was a game plan, but it seems like we have a passing game.
I think actually Joe gave me his prediction, and it's exactly the same stuff too. So
yeah, 6 and 5.
Yeah, 6 and 5. All right, give us another one, Thorny.
Jag fan 98, as in Jacksonville Jaguars. What gives you more optimism? The fact that our defense looks like it hasn't missed a beat, even after losing a bunch of important seniors, or that we showed glimpses of being able to move the ball on offense, both on the ground and finally through the air?
I'm going to go with the offense. I knew our defense was going to be stout. I had no clue about the offense. And after talking to Cody Tucker last week, I was kind of prepping myself for like a lot of, just run right, run left in 3rd and 7. That was not the case. And so I'm pretty stoked about our offense.
As an aside, I was gleaming the Wyoming message board. Yeah, people want there's already a Fire Craig Bull thread. There's a lot of people saying apparently vegan wasn't the problem. Oh man, that place is it's a meltdown mode.
I went
good.
That too.
I didn't. There was definitely some posters on the Bobcat Nation who weren't all that entertaining. So no, I don't feel bad for them on that. I actually am more optimistic about the defense. I was pretty concerned about the defensive line, all those guys being gone. I was pretty optimistic after we signed Trey Webb. Before we signed Trey Webb, I was getting a little nervous. I was nervous about maybe James Campbell and some of this, just the plethora of unproven freshmen or / converted wide receiver starting his first game at corner type guys. And I thought everybody on defense played really well. There's only a couple breakdowns. I think James Campbell only got beat one time, and we got lucky as an overthrow. I was impressed with the defense. A team like Wyoming could have steamrolled the Bobcats. I'm impressed. I'm going to go with the defense. Plenty optimistic on that.
All righty. Hey, Thorny, I'm going to give you a couple from Bobcat Nation, just quick hitters, buy or sell type of questions, all right? Bleeding Blue says, buy or sell the catch run for 300 plus Saturday night.
That is a lot of yards. I'm going to sell that. That's a lot. I think it might run for 200, 250 or something, but I think Drake's a little bit better than that.
I'm going to buy. All right, next question. Buy or sell, 5 different Bobcats scored TDs.
I'll buy that. We'll get some, I think we're going to rotate a lot of guys in. Like you said, maybe even 3 running backs might get it. A couple wide receivers and a tight end. Boom. That's easily 6 right there. So yeah, I'd buy it.
That's from Colorado Cat. I will buy that as well. Cats Are Us says, I'm going to ask again. I'm wondering if we didn't read it. last time, but if Cats are us, I apologize if that's the case. I'm going to ask again about who is the QB for most of the fourth quarter. Also wanted to ask if we will see a lot more different running backs.
Oh, we answered it last time. I think he's just asking, this person is asking. I don't have no idea if it's a he. Is asking us because of a different situation. Like in Wyoming, if it was a different quarterback, were we getting blown out? But against a lesser opponent, are we going to be blowing them out? I think he's purposely asking the question again. So I would say most of the fourth quarter, I just think it's going to be Matt McKay because I just think they got to continue to work him. They got to continue to see what he can do and just work on the offense continuity, the chemistry between the wide receivers. I think he's going to still be there even if the Cats are up quite a bit. Maybe not, but I would say, yes, probably still Matt McKay.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I'm also going to say for the second question, we are going to see a lot of different running backs because Brent Vegan told me so in his press conference today. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Wyoming was passing by design. I think we'll see a lot more running this time, a lot more dynamic running game, a lot more different running plays and running backs.
All right, and then our buddy Catserback 76 says, how would you grade out the linebacker crew? Also, which unit do you think is showing the best game day level of play? Which offensive unit? Which defensive unit? All right, I'm going to help us out. First, we're going to talk about how would you grade out the linebacking crew? You're up.
I'd probably give him an A-. Like, they played pretty well.
Yeah.
Troy you can say where he was, but he still led the team in tackles, man. And I thought Nolan Askelson looked really good when he came in, and I thought Callahan O'Reilly looked like the second best linebacker on the field for anybody behind Moo. No, I'm just gonna keep calling that because it's funny. Yeah, I thought the linebacker crew played great. I was wondering how it would look in a 4-2-5 scheme, but I thought they played really well. A-.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with you on that. All right, which unit do you think is showing the best game day level of play?
Safeties.
Woo. Good one there, Thorny. I like that one too. I was going to say offensive line, but safeties, offensive line, safeties, maybe even defensive line.
That was a hard one because there's a lot of units that I just thought were like, man, we're set.
Yeah, but I just really solid.
Jeff Manning and Trey Webb, I just thought looked like just players. Those guys look like FBS dudes. Trey Webb, man, he's thick. He's a big boy. He was just out there hitting people. That's a good unit. I'm gonna go with safeties. I'm excited to see them play.
All right, so safeties. That was defensive unit, offensive unit. Are you going with O line?
Can quarterback be a unit? Yeah, I'll go offensive line. I was concerned, man, when they announced Justin Perkis was starting. I'm like, excuse me. It's like Justin Perkis. They played well. They played really well against a big-time defensive team, a team that prides themselves on defense and had like 10 of 11 returners. I was pretty impressed with the offensive line.
Those are the only Golden Coolie questions we have from Bobcat Nation. And again, thanks, guys, for just actually sending those in. It always is like my heart warms when we get Twitter mentions on game day when we see guys across the nation holding up their Golden Coolies at spots.
Yeah, Tom was the guy. That was awesome. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. Cheers.
So there's a call out to our fans. Hey, if you have a Golden Coolie, send us a picture of where you're at on game day on our socials, please. That's just so cool. We'll retweet the heck out of those. But I think I have a winner, Thorny. I think I know who it is.
All right. You tell me, and I'll see if I agree.
I think I'm going to go with Jags fan.
Yep, I could agree with that. I have no problem with that. I liked the question from Joe Bobcat quite a bit, but yeah, I like the Jag fan one. Just yeah. Right, give him a round of applause here, huh?
Woo! Jags fan, Tim Tebow. All right. Hey, Jags fan.
Oh, he's gonna burn the coolie now.
Hey, we'll see Joe Bobcat at in Bozeman. I'm gonna bring a I'm just going to bring my stash of Golden Coolies.
Bring them all. We need to technically get rid of them, and you know why. I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but we need to get rid of those things.
Yeah, so we'll be passing those out. Get them the first iteration, the unique ones, before they take them away. Come on, guys. All right. Thorny, I think we're done, dude.
Man, we went long. I know your goal was to go 45 minutes. We're probably at like an hour now. Always is. It felt so good to be talking. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I hope everyone enjoyed listening and just watching Bobcat football again. Look forward to seeing some people over at game day on Gold Rush. Hit us up if you want to meet up with us and buy us a beer. Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to meet anybody, and that's a joke. We'll love to buy you a beer. Doesn't matter. But yeah, hit us up if you want to hang out with us sometime on Gold Rush. You can find us on Twitter, RRCatCast, website, rrcatcast.com. Thanks again to Jeremiah Johnson for being our awesome sponsor. And for the first time in 2 years, let's give a real Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats. What are you laughing at?
First time in 2 years, give us a Go Cats.
I said a real, which doesn't make any sense.
A real. A double positive.
I don't know what it means. I don't care.